Welcome to Everlasting Talk. Hello, welcome to Everlasting Talk. I'm your host, Ever. Today in the Biography series, we're talking about Pablo Escobar. Before we continue, make sure to go on my link below. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, X, YouTube, like and follow on Spotify. Get your merch on Spring. Check me out on Twitch and Kick as well. Especially blogger too. I'm going to do some blogs as well. All right, let's get started here. Pablo Escobar is one of the most infamous drug lords in history. From his rise to power to his dramatic downfall, Escobar's story is one of ambition, violence, and enduring infamy. Born Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria on December 1st, 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, raised in a lower middle class family, his early life was marked by a drive to escape poverty and achieve wealth by any means necessary. His ruthlessness and entrepreneurial spirit would catapult him to the heights of the drug trade. Starting with petty crimes and smuggling, by the 1970s, he had established the Medellín Cartel, which became the most infamous and powerful cartel or drug trafficking organization in the world at the time. He would begin to kill politicians and public officials who rejected his bribes, saying plata or plomo, otherwise in English translated to silver or lead, meaning you accept his bribe with the money or you get one between the eyes, Escobar's rise to power was fueled by his control of the cocaine trade. By the 1980s, he was responsible for smuggling massive quantities of it to the United States, earning billions and becoming one of the richest men in the world. His influence extended to Colombian politics, where he got public support by creating and funding programs to the poor communities in his area. Eventually, he would get into orchestrating massive amounts of bombings, assassinations, kidnappings, to maintain power and intimidate his enemies and the people overall. The most notorious act was the bombing of Avancia Flight 203 in 1989, which killed 110 people on board. He originally did that because he was targeting at the time presidential candidate Cesar Gaviria Trujillo, who later became president of Colombia, but unfortunately, he wasn't on that flight. Well, fortunately for Escobar, he wasn't on that flight. I think he either overslept or he couldn't make it, so he had to reschedule, but that essentially saved his life. But yeah, Trujillo was one of Escobar's biggest enemies once Trujillo became president. It marked him being targeted. Eventually, this act, because of 2 Americans were killed, it marked him and targeted him by the United States government and the Colombian government as well, because they realized how powerful he became and how destructive he could be. By 1991, he surrendered to authorities on the condition that he could have his own prison, which he called a Catedral. Sorry. But after crimes like murder being committed in the prison itself, the authorities had enough and went after him. But also, he only accepted to go to prison in Colombia was because of the Colombian Constitution in 1991. Pretty much this banned any extradition of Colombian citizens to the United States because he was wanted by the United States. He got his way. It was very controversial. The Colombian government didn't want to do it, but they kind of had to because they wanted to stop all this, attacks and stuff by Escobar and his cartel. So they went with it. I don't know if they changed it since then, but yeah, it was definitely a milestone for them to do that. Eventually, the government, the U.S. government, the Colombian government, will partner together. But also there was a group called Los Pepes. The Pepes was like a paramilitary government or paramilitary wing. Many say it was probably funded by the Colombian government themselves, allegedly, but no proof of that. But also said that it was actually hired by the Cali cartel, which were actually the rivals of the Medellín cartel. So they benefited a lot with Pablo Escobar no longer being in the picture, if you know what I mean. Eventually, U.S. surveillance would go and find Pablo's location. It would go based off, phone records, GPS records, into a location that was in the neighborhood of Medellín. And on December 2nd, 1993, so a day after his birthday, they raided the house, and after a shootout, Escobar was killed on the rooftop, getting hit on the torso, feet, and in the head. There's speculation that the police didn't want him to bring him alive. It was like not dead or alive, it was dead. There's speculation or a rumor, allegedly, that instead of like letting him, he probably could have survived his wounds because he got shot in the torso. But many said that the shot to the head was actually after he was already fallen. So it looks like there's many stories, that, especially documentaries, that say that someone stood over him and took him out. So there's that. But many say that a lucky bullet just hit him in the head and he fell over. But, there's always going to be those people that say, like, no, he got executed, unfortunately. I don't know if I can say that word, but he got executed by them. But there's no proof of that, so we'll never really know. Because, they probably knew he was going to get off, He'll probably get, like, a light sentence or something. I don't know. Allegedly, they wanted to get rid of him. There's no, no chance of them wanting to bring him alive, because there's a chance he would escape again, or he would just get like a light, whatever sentence and be out within a year, and then you have to deal with them again. So they probably, you never know, we just allegedly, right? But his death, his death was deeply, he was missed by the Colombian people, because he did like fund a lot of programs for the poor. He funded a soccer field, he gave money, tons of money to the poor communities. About 25,000 people attended his funeral. So even though he was a monster, like, all these kidnappings and murders and bombings, he was very well loved by the people in his community. So it's very telling. It's pretty much losing their Robin Hood. They really saw him as a Robin Hood of the community. So it was very, definitely people in that was part of Colombia. They'll still remember him as like a saint. He helped the community. But, he's also remembered as a ruthless drug lord who was responsible for countless deaths, inciting fear into the people of Colombia. And, with his support, whoever supported him too, his people around him. But yeah, if anything, let's see. His life serves as a cautioning tale of the devastating consequences of unchecked criminal enterprises. Some, messed up thing. Actually, I found out, I checked in my research that in 1976, a 26-year-old Pablo Escobar married a 15-year-old girl. But they end up having 2 children. Those are the 2 children they had. I think his son is still alive. I think they're still all alive today. But I think they left Colombia. I think they got extradited to the U.S. or something. Or they went to the U.S. There's also a story. He had a zoo where he had many exotic animals. When he started, he had 4 hippos, but eventually they multiplied. And to this day, the Colombian government's actually like fighting against those hippos. Like they're trying to like get rid of them because they went from like 4 to like 40 or something like that. So after the permission from the Colombian government, many people started hunting those hippos. Unfortunately, so hopefully, if they're not in danger, but because they're not part of the ecosystem itself. They wreck the ecosystem because they're not naturally from Colombia. They're from Africa and stuff. So yeah, that's a crazy story. There's some sources you guys should check out, or some things you should check out. There's a book and a documentary called "Killing Pablo: The Hunt for the World's Greatest Outlaw" by Mark Bolden. That's the book part, but there's also a documentary movie. There's the season 1 of Narcos. Check that out. Obviously, season 2 and 3 deal with Mexico, but season 1 was Pablo Escobar story. So if you haven't watched that, I don't have a sponsor or anything with Netflix, but I did like that series. I do like that series a lot. I watch all 3 seasons. But yeah, that's definitely a good season, for a good show for you to check out. Narcos season 1. There's also a book called Pablo Escobar, Angel or Demon. Sorry, that's a documentary. But there's also a book by his son, the one I mentioned, Roberto Escobar, called Escobar. So that's more of like, story directly from his son. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I do switch out content sometimes, now I'm going into more like entertainment too and stuff like that. A lot of people I mentioned were like, I've been like politicians and stuff like that. But on the next episode, we're going to talk about Lou Gehrig, famous baseball player. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Make sure to go to the link below, get your merch, follow me on Instagram, X, YouTube. Make sure to put all your notifications on for Spotify. And I thank you guys so much, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Everlasting Talk. For more content, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Everlasting Talk. Thank you.